Hey everybody, my name is Deja and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going over my 2025 TBR. I'm really excited to be going over my 2025 TBR today. I originally was only going to do 12 books to do in 2025 because I'm like, now we're past the point where it's more than one book a month. It's ridiculous. And last year I did a mixture where I did half books that I owned that were backlist and then half new releases. And so I thought about maybe doing that again this year. And then I filmed my haul video and I realized that there's so many books that I've recently gotten in the past few months and the last year that I really just want to read that I already own. So I am doing 25 books to do in 2025 and all of them are backlist books that I already own, except there were 2 books that I wanted to put on this list that I did not own, so I just bought them. One of them I have not picked up yet, so I don't have it physically here with me to show y'all, but I have to go pick it up from Whole Foods to get it from Amazon because I can't really deliver packages to my apartment right now because it's closed for winter break. But I do own it because I bought it for my 2025 TBR. Also, I'm sorry if the lighting keeps going in and out. I'm pre-filming videos, so I'm starting earlier in the day than I normally do, and the sun is just playing games with me. It's going in and out, and there's not really much that I can do about it. The window is as closed as it possibly can be, so we're just gonna have to deal with it, honestly. We're just gonna hop straight into the books, and even though these are my 2025 TBR, I may not know a ton about every single one of them. I have read the synopses of all of these, especially in that haul video, but sometimes that doesn't always stick in here. I'll read it and I'll be like, oh wait, that sounds really good, and then all I remember was like, oh, that book sounded really, really good. So we may be reading the back of some books, but the first book I'm going to talk about is the one that I don't physically have here with me. That is Finding Me by Viola Davis. This is her memoir, and I've heard amazing things about it. I mean, most people love most memoirs, but I have heard such amazing things about this one specifically, so I've been really wanting to read it, which I also have a goal this year, which I think that video is coming out after this one. I was actually going to combine my goals video with this one, but then I was like, that's too long, and I don't want to edit that long, so I'm dividing them into 2 different videos. But one of my goals is to read more nonfiction this year because I read no nonfiction last year, so I decided to put one of the nonfictions on here just to try and promote myself achieving that goal. And I don't really own much nonfiction that I haven't read, especially not like memoirs or anything that I'm like super interested in, but I decided to put this one on here because it's the one that I really want to read. I also want to read a little bit more classics this year because I feel like I'm starting to find classics that I'm actually really interested in and want to read, so I do want to prioritize those and not be scared of them. So I put one on here, and that is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. I know this one's considered like a thriller or a suspense, and I never really knew that there were like thriller classics like that. Obviously there are books that are considered classic on like booktube and stuff like that, but like a traditional classic, I didn't really know that there were any in the thriller genre. I don't really know much about it besides that it is a thriller, but it says, in Monte Carlo, our heroine is swept off her feet by the dashing widower Maxim de Winter and his sudden proposal of marriage. Orphaned and working as a lady's maid, she can barely believe her luck. It is only when they arrive at Manderley, her husband's cavernous estate on the Cornish coast, that she realizes how vast a shadow his late wife Rebecca will cast over their lives, introducing a lingering evil that has threatened to destroy their love from beyond the grave. And it is a universally acclaimed novel, and it was published in 1938. I'm really excited about this one. I've heard amazing things. One of the booktubers that I watched, she said this is her only 6-star. I think actually Finding Me and Rebecca have been her only 6-star reads ever. I don't really do 6-star reads, but that's like ultimate favorite of all time. So this is one of the ones that she had up there, so I really wanted to read it, and I've heard such amazing things. And then I also have The Storied Life of A.J. Fikry by Gabrielle Zevin. This is not an author I ever thought that I would be into. I know she wrote Tomorrow, which I never been interested in, but I've heard about this book a lot and that I was really interested in it. And then I decided that I was gonna like buy it, and I didn't even realize it was by Gabrielle Zevin. But this one is about A.J. Fikry, and he's kind of like a grump. He lives alone. His bookstore is experiencing the worst in its history, and now his prized possession, a rare collection of Poe poems, has been stolen. But when a mysterious package appears at the bookstore, its unexpected arrival gives Fikry the chance to make his life over and see everything anew. I've heard such good things about this one. It's pretty short. It's like a literary fiction. I don't know if there's any magical realism in it, but I love grumpy characters in and outside of romance, and I also love a bookstore setting, so I really wanted to pick this one up. Next up, I have another book that I would consider a classic. It was published a little bit later in 1979, but that was almost 50 years ago, so I'm considering it a sci-fi classic, and that is Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. This one, as I said, is a sci-fi book, and I believe it's about a woman who is a modern black woman and is celebrating her 26th birthday with her new husband when she is snatched abruptly from her home in California and transported to the antebellum South. And there is like a white son of a plantation owner who is drowning, and she has been summoned to save him, and then she's like drawn back over and over and is supposed to save him, but she doesn't know why, especially because he is the son of a slave owner. I'm really interested in this one. I've been wanting to read more from this author for a very long time, so I'm excited about this one. Next up, I have another sci-fi, which is kind of crazy, and that is Chain Gang All-Stars. I'm trying to choose books that I've been really interested in for a long time. Some of them are ones that are in my comfort zone, some of them are ones that are outside of my comfort zone, but regardless, I'm really excited about all these books. I believe it has to do with the prison system, and I think like the prisoners are forced to fight kind of like a gladiator type style of fighting, and I've heard pretty good things about this one. It was a 2023 release, and I really wanted to read it that year, but I just never got around to it. And the reason I'm so interested in this one is because I'm actually a criminology and psychology major, but this one has to do with the criminal justice system, which is why I really want to read it. So we are adding it to the TBR. So this is the last sci-fi I have, and that is This Is How You Lose the Time War. This is super short again, but it is about two rival agents that are in a time war. So they're in different times and space, but they're in like this time war that's literally a war taking place over different times. So it has like time travel or something in it, and they are rival agents, and they're writing letters back and forth to each other. I believe that it's also sapphic, and that's why there's like a red bird and a blue bird, because that's like what they call each other, I think, like red bird, blue bird. I've heard really good things about this one. I've also heard like not amazing things because some people don't like the writing, but I hope I really like the writing. Next, we have a magical realism, and that is The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. I've been really wanting to read something from this author. I know she came out with The Lost Story, which people have also been loving this year, but this was her first book that I heard that's really popular. She may have more books before this one, but this one is the one that I hear about, this one in The Lost Story. I'm just going to read this little short part. It says, years ago, a reclusive mega best-selling author quit writing under mysterious circumstances. Suddenly, he resurfaces with a brand new book and a one-of-a-kind competition offering a prize that will change the winner's life. And it says, make a wish. I'm really excited about this one because I've heard such amazing things, and I'm trying to get more into magical realism. Next up, we have a couple fantasies. The first one is A Discovery of Witches. I've heard so much about this book, and I didn't really know what it was about until Olivia from Olivia Reads a Latte talked about this one. It's one of her like favorite books, and apparently this one is about a witch and a vampire. I think it has a romance in it. It says equal parts history and magic, romance and suspense, and that's just like everything that I love. It is a little long, but I'm so intrigued by this one, and I think it's going to be an amazing read because so many people love this one. Another fantasy I have is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. This is one that I've been meaning to read for years since it came out because people literally adore this book. I believe we follow Addie LaRue, and she has been granted like immortality, but nobody remembers her. So she can meet somebody and live all these lives, but she can never really have people that love her and care about her, or like a partner, because nobody actually remembers her. They will meet her once, maybe talk to her, within a couple minutes they forget that she exists. That's all that I know about this one. That's all that I really want to know, besides the fact that people love and adore this one. So I feel like it's time that we finally read her. I also have another like fantasy, but it's also historical, and that is This Ravenous Fate by Haley Dennings. This was one of my most anticipated releases of 2024, but I was so slumpy, and I wanted to give this book a fair chance and actually read it in a time and space that I know for a fact I'm going to enjoy it. So I decided to push it off a little bit and read it in 2025. This one was so anticipated for me because it's by Haley, who is a booktuber, and so I was really excited to read her book, and it's about black sapphic vampires. It says it's 1926 and reapers are growing stronger everywhere. Created centuries ago by cruel medical experiments, these once human vampires are driven to attack without mercy. Those who protect the city from them hold more power than even the organized criminals who run the nightclubs. As a reluctant heir to her father's reaper hunting empire, Elise Saint knows that the Harlem Reapers want her dead. Among them is Layla Quinn, who lost her parents, the protection of the Saints, and her humanity the night she was turned into a reaper. And she'll never forget how Elise Saint betrayed her. A wave of mysterious killings shocks the city, forcing Elise and Layla to work together to find out if some reapers are turning human again, or becoming even deadlier. As their investigation takes them from glittering parties to gangster underworlds, the two must confront their complicated feelings for each other, for a new kind of evil is on the rise, one that will destroy reapers and humans alike if they don't stop it. So it has a little bit of a mystery in it, it has romance, it's historical, and it has vampires in it. Like, I have to read this one. I'm so excited. Then I have some fantasy romance, and I just put an author on here for that, and that is Sarah J. Maas. In 2024, I completed the ACOTAR series. I'm completely caught up on it, but these are the two series of hers that I'm currently reading. I've been reading this series, the Throne of Glass series, since I was in 6th grade, and I absolutely love it. I reread the first 2 books and I adore them so much, and I really want to continue on with it. I just get so intimidated by big, long fantasy series, but I feel like this is the year that I'm going to read this one, and I put this one on my January TBR, so hopefully I do read it in January. And then I also have House of Flame and Shadow. Ideally, I would read both of these, and I do want to continue on even more with this series, but I just really want to read at least one and make a dent. But this one I also want to read. It's the last book in the Crescent City series, so it'd be great to complete the series in 2025. I would love to do that. I haven't heard the best about this one, but the first book in the series is one of my favorite books of all time. Like, I love that book so, so much. So I do want to complete the series off, and I'm intrigued because of what happened at the end of the last book. Some people, I feel like, haven't been liking what happens, but I really want to know, and I just want to see for myself. So this one I do really want to read, but since I already put this one on my January TBR, I'm going to add her up here, just, you know, to stand in. Next up, I have some contemporary romance. The first one is Real by Kennedy Ryan. I have been obsessed with this author's writing. I've caught up on her Skyland series because there's only 2 books out in it right now. The 3rd book is coming out in 2025, and I plan on reading that one in 2025 as well. And then I started her Hoop series. I still have 2 books left in that trilogy, so I do want to continue on with that one. And she also has like her other series. The first book is Queen Move, but this one is a standalone, and I've owned it for a couple years since it came out, so I decided to add it to this TBR because it is a standalone. So it's just one book, it's not even in a series. I believe this one is a romance between an actress and a film director, and one of them I think is in like a wheelchair or disabled in some sort of way, so I'm really excited about that representation. Kennedy Ryan never ever ever disappoints, and I've heard this one is phenomenal, so we're adding her to the TBR. The next romance that I have is Only for the Weak by Natasha Bishop. This one is a bit different because I know Kennedy Ryan is more hard-hitting, and I know this one is a little bit lighter. So this one is about a woman whose sister is getting married in a tropical location, Tulum, and she not only is a sister of the bride, but she is also the ex-girlfriend of the groom and is sleeping with the best man. So she has a lot of connections to this wedding party. I'm really excited about this one. This one's definitely going to be a spring or summer read for me just because of like the setting and the weddingness of it. So I'm really excited to read this one as well. I also have Wild Love by Elsie Silver. This is the first book in her Rose Hill series. This is her new series that she started publishing this year. She published the first 2 books this year and is publishing the 3rd one next year, but I don't know how many is going to be in this series. This one I do know is just about single dads. Like, each book has a single dad, and that's one of my favorite tropes. I truly love a single parent trope, and that's all that I really know about this one. So let's read the synopsis. It says, Forbes may have labeled Ford Grant the world's hottest billionaire, but all he cares about is escaping the press and opening a record studio in gorgeous small town Rose Hill. Something that comes to a screeching halt when he ends up face to face with a young girl who claims he's her biological father. Now he spends his days balancing business with parenting a sullen 12-year-old, all while trying desperately to keep his hands the hell off his best friend's sister, Rosie Belmont. After living in the city, Rosie came blasting back into town like a storm, beautiful, messy, and chaotic, and one wide-eyed, desperate plea for a job is all it takes for Ford to hire her. He vows to keep her at arm's length, tries to stick to scowls and grumpy one-liners, but with her, verbal sparring is a type of foreplay, friction that soon turns to blistering heat. Ford knows damn well he shouldn't cross this line, but shouldn't and can't are 2 very different things, and the only thing he truly can't do is resist her. This one sounds so good. I didn't know it was also the best friend's sister trope, and he seems to be grumpy, and I love a grumpy character. Not a mean character, but a grumpy character, so I'm really excited about this one. Interesting that this is called the Rose Hill series and it takes place in Rose Hill, and her name is Rosie. I feel like if I was the author, I would have changed one of those, but regardless, we're adding her to the TBR. I don't think I'm going to be able to fit all these books in the stack where y'all can see, so I'm sorry about that. Maybe if I set it back a little bit more, we can like fit more books at the top. I have the most amount of mysteries and horror on this list. The first mystery is Shady Hollow. I heard about this one a couple months ago, so I asked for it for my birthday, and my sister bought this one for me. It says the first book in the Shady Hollow series, in which we are introduced to the village of Shady Hollow, a place where woodland creatures live together in harmony until a curmudgeonly toad turns up dead and the local reporter has to solve the case. I think this one just sounds so good, where it's like woodland creatures but they're humanoid and can like walk around, and one of them ends up dead, so they are investigating the murder. I think it just sounds so cute, so good. I'm really anticipating reading that one. This one I thought was a thriller, but it's marked number 1 as mystery on Goodreads, so I just put it in that category, and that is Laws of Depravity by Eric LaSala. This one is by a Black author, so I'm really excited, but I believe this one has to do with a serial killer. Yeah, it says it's a crime thriller, but I put it in mystery because that's what it's marked number 1 as on Goodreads. But it says 30 years, 36 priests butchered. His bloodiest masterpiece is yet to come. Every 10 years for the past 30 years, a dozen clergymen are killed, brutally murdered in twisted scenes emulating the deaths of Jesus and his disciples. It is the work of a serial killer known as the Martyr Maker, and in 2011 he set his mark on New York City. NYPD detectives Quincy Kavanaugh and Fee Freeman, along with FBI agent Janet McLean, know they have very little time to catch this monster before he completes his final cycle of killing and disappears forever. But the investigation is made even more difficult when they discover that the seemingly unrelated clergymen are anything but the symbols of godliness that they would have their communities believe. I'm really excited about this one. Eric LaSala is also an actor, director, and producer. I don't think I've seen any of his work, but this one also includes the bonus prequel, Laws of Innocence, which gives a peek into a mind of a vengeful serial killer. I love serial killer thrillers, mysteries, whatever, and I don't know of many written by Black authors. So I really wanted to pick this one up, and I thought it sounded so good, so I added it to my TBR. I have another serial killer thriller by a black author also coming up, so we'll be talking about that as well. I hate how my hair keeps like going back, so it makes my hair look way shorter than it is. I promise guys that I have hair, it's just going behind me. The next mystery that I have is Body and Soul Food by Abby Collette. This one is also on my January TBR. I was able to get this one on there, and this one is a Books and Biscuit mystery. Again, this one's by a black author, which I don't know of many cozy mystery series written by black authors, so I really wanted to pick this one up. All I know about this one is that there are twins that are trying to take down a killer while they're opening their new bookstore and soul food cafe called Books and Biscuits. And there's a cat. Like, there's a cat on the back, and she's in the front, and there's also a puppy, and I love that. I'm just so excited for this one. I've not heard anybody talk about this one, but I also have the second book lined up in case I really, really love it. The last mystery that I have is The Golden Spoon by Jessa Maxwell. This one just sounded so good to me because it is a combination of Clue and The Great British Bake Off, which are two things that I absolutely love and adore. That's really why I wanted to read it. I honestly don't know much about it, and I'm not going to read the synopsis. All I know is that there's like 6 bakers that are baking, and they bake every summer. So this is one that I'll probably read in the summer, and it's like Clue. Someone dies. It's like a cozy mystery. Someone dies, and they're trying to like figure it out. And it says that it's a sharp and suspenseful thriller. It's a mystery for mystery buffs and avid bakers alike. And it says that it's brilliant and puzzle filled with shocking twists that keep you turning the pages late into the night. That's what I want. That's what I need. So we're putting her on the TBR. Next up, we have a thriller, and this is the one that is also about serial killers. That is by a black author, and that is The Jigsaw Man by Nadine Matheson. I've heard really good things about this one. It's been on my TBR for a couple years since I heard about it. It says a serial killer and his copycat are locked in a violent game of cat and mouse. Can Angelica Henley stop them before it's too late? On the day she returns to active duty with the serial crime unit, Detective Inspector Angelica Henley is called to a crime scene. Dismembered body parts from 2 victims have been found by the river. The modus operandi bears a striking resemblance to Peter Oliver, the notorious jigsaw killer who has spent the past 2 years behind bars. When he learns that someone is co-opting his grisly signature, the arrangement of victims' limbs in puzzle-piecing shapes, he decides to take matters into his own hands. As the body count rises, it says DI, not Angelica. I'm stupid. Angelica Henley is faced with an unspeakable new threat. Can she apprehend the copycat killer before Oliver finds a way to get to him first, or will she herself become the next victim? Drawing her experience as a criminal attorney, I didn't know that Nadine Matheson is a criminal defense attorney. I love that. So yeah, I don't think y'all be able to see this one if I put it on top. Actually, you can. So we only have the horror left, which is the next 4 books. I'm just going to put them right here in front. The first horror book that I have is We Used to Live Here. This is one of the most talked about horror books for 2024. And somehow it always blows my mind because I feel like I do so much research into the releases coming out every single year. And somehow there are releases that pop up that everybody loves and adores that I heard nobody talk about before they were actually released. Like, we had no idea they were coming out, and then all of a sudden everybody's loving them. This one is about a queer couple that moves into a new house, and while one of them is home alone, they get a knock on the door from this man, and he's like, hey, my family and I used to live here, can we come in? And for some reason she lets them in. I would never do that, but then they decide that they're not going to leave. I heard this one's really creepy and suspenseful and just like really makes people feel like eerie, so I'm really excited to try this one out and see what all the hype is about. My bad, I forgot one of the thrillers. That is Kill For Me, Kill For You by Steve Kavanaugh. I heard really good things about this one starting last year. I think it's actually a 2024 release. Yeah, it came out book of the month, March 2024, but I think one of my friends, Kat, had an arc of this one and she read it last year, and ever since then, I've been kind of keeping this one on my radar and people have been really adoring it. All I know about this one is that it's a thriller where people decide to do that thing where they're like, we're 2 strangers, we don't even know each other, but we both are having problems with people, so I'll kill for you if you kill for me. That's all that I know about this one. That's all that I really want to know. I've heard that it's really good. I tried to read 13 by this author as a buddy read. Neither of us could get through it, but I've heard really good things about that one too. So hopefully, if I really like this one, I'll go back and I'll read that one. But I've heard amazing things about this one. Moving back to horror, I also have Night's Edge by Liz Kieran. This is a like new adult vampire horror book. It says, having a mom like Izzy meant Mia had to grow up fast. No extracurriculars, no inviting friends over, and definitely no dating. The most important rule, tell no one of Izzy's hunger. The one only blood can satisfy. And longs for a life of her own. One where she doesn't have to worry about anyone discovering their terrible secret. Or breathing down her neck. When Mia meets rebellious musician Jade, she dares to hope she found a way to leave her home and her mom behind. It just might be Mia's only chance of getting out alive. So her mom is basically a vampire and she's like hiding that secret. I don't know if she's also a vampire or not. My friend Haley loves this book, so I really wanted to add it to my TBR since I recently purchased it. Then I have another 2024 release, and that is Private Rights by Julia Armfield. This one came out in December in America. It came out in the UK, I think a couple months ago. I loved Our Wives Under the Sea by this author back in 2023. It was my first book I read that year. That's pretty surprising that I remember that. I don't even remember what the first book I read this year was. It was Married by Nat Cassidy, if you're curious. This one I don't really know anything about it at all, except that it's by Julia Armfield. I think it might be post-apocalyptic. I don't know. I think it's about sisters that come together after their father dies, and he was a famous architect, and he was revered for making the New World navigatable because basically it's been raining for a very long time, and so now the lands have reshaped themselves and arcane rituals and religions have crept back into practice. I'm really excited for this author's newest release. We're on the last two books. I have American Rapture up next. Again, this is one that I don't know much about except that it's by CJ Lead. I loved Mayfly by this author in 2023, so I wanted to pick up her newest release. This one came out earlier in 2024. It just says, never been kissed, about to get screwed. A virus is spreading across America, transforming the infected and making them feral with lust. Sophie, a good Catholic girl, must survive the hellscape of the Midwest to try and save her twin brother while the world around her burns. Along the way, she rediscovers there are far worse fates than dying a virgin. Sounds really, really good. I'm excited about this one. Some people say this is like their favorite book of the year, so I'm really excited. But this one has not been nearly as popular as Mayfly, so I wish more people would read it so I can get the tea. And the last book that I have is The Devil Takes You Home by Gabino Iglesias. I also really want to read House of Bone and Rain, but this one came out first and I own both. I was trying to read House of Bone and Rain before the end of the year, but I just didn't get to it. So I decided to put this one on the list because this is his first book that people were talking about. It also comes with a translation guide because the author is Hispanic and I believe incorporates some Spanish into his books. This one says, buried in debt due to his young daughter's illness, his marriage at the brink, Mario reluctantly takes a job as a hitman, surprising himself with his proclivity for violence. After tragedy destroys the life he knew, Mario agrees to one final job, hijacking a drug cartel's cash shipment before it reaches Mexico. Along with an old friend and a cartel insider, Mario sets off on the near suicidal mission, which will leave him with either a cool $200,000 or a bullet in his skull. But the path to reward or ruin is never as straight as it seems. As the three complicated men travel through endless Texas landscape, across the border and back, their hidden motives are laid bare alongside nightmarish encounters that defy explanation. One thing is certain, even if Mario makes it out alive, he'll return a different man. I'm really excited about this one because even though this one's horror, he gives me the vibes of S.A. Cosby, which is what I keep saying over and over and over again. Hopefully it gives me those vibes. Like the synopsis alone really reminds me of Blacktop Wasteland a lot, so I'm really excited about this one. S.A. Cosby is coming out with a release in 2025, but we still have quite a few months until we get to it, so hopefully this can kind of like quench my thirst for an S.A. Cosby book until that time. So this is my 2025 TBR. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I was really debating if I wanted to do 25 books as I said, but I'm really happy with all these books and I'm really excited about all of them. Again, some of them are in my comfort zone, some of them are outside of my comfort zone, but regardless, I really hope that I adore every single one. And let me know what's on your 2025 TBR. Also, if you read any of these, please let me know if you like them down in the comments below because I would love to know your thoughts on any of these books. If you made it to the end, leave the moon emoji down below and I will see you on the next one. Bye everybody. I'm writing rhymes in the kitchen, soaking the moments we live in. Yeah, you got the nerve to be on me, taking your life for the IG. If you got my number, don't let me, cause baby, I'm on hiatus. I'm on hiatus. I'm on hiatus.